You were out of it.
I was out of it. Is there a way to do this that brings it back into pitch? Well, we'll try it again at the end. Welcome to the February 22nd meeting of the Rotary Club of South Jacksonville. For our Zoom members, we're happy you can join us. Please remember to mute yourself until it's time for you to say something, and then unmute or submit your comments via chat. Thank you to our greeter, Christy King. The prayer and pledge today will be given by past President Gary Wilkinson. Please welcome Gary.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Lord of the universe, you have given mankind a strong desire to do good, to be honest, to serve others, and to faithfully fulfill their obligations to their neighbors. Help us as Rotarians and humans to do good. Help us as Rotarians and humans to be honest and ethical in all our dealings. Help us as Rotarians and humans to serve others. And help us as Rotarians and humans to faithfully fulfill our obligations as neighbors to our community, our nation, and the world. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, some of those are.
Sure.
Very good.
Let's see, Christy. Welcome.
Okay, we'll start with birthdays, and we have a couple weeks to catch up on. Les Logan celebrated his birthday on February 15th. Warner Webb celebrated his birthday on February 17th. Past President Odette Strauss celebrated her birthday on February 21st, and Leslie Red will celebrate her birthday on February 25th. On February anniversaries, Les Logan celebrated 21 years as a Rotarian on February 20th, and past President and past District Governor Mike Dara is celebrating 30 years on February 25th. And we have one wedding anniversary this week. Kyle Peters and his wife Katrina are celebrating 9 years of marriage on February 23rd. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have a craft talk today, I'm pleased to say, by John Pope. John? Okay.
I'm going to use my time today to talk about Ducks Unlimited, a conservation organization that I joined in the mid-'80s. I served as the Florida chair in 1999, joined the board in 2004, and was president 2009 and 10, chairman of the board 11 and 12. On your table, I put the latest DU fact sheet for Florida, with over 1,000 volunteers who held 115 events. Last year, they raised $1.7 million. Our first project in Florida was at Guana Lake. And thus far, we've spent over $15 million in projects. DU was formed January of 1937. And that first year, 6,720 members raised $90,000. The next year, DU Canada was formed, and the money that was raised was spent on DU's first marsh project, Big Marsh Grass in Manitoba. DU Mexico, or DUMAC, was formed in 1974, and we began to work along the Pacific and Gulf of Mexico coast, where ducks, waterfowl, geese all winter. We didn't work in the US until 1984, but today we've worked in every state, worked across Mexico and all the Canadian provinces. All told, we have restored over 15 million acres. DU is based in Memphis, has over 500 employees working in 11 states and in Washington, DC. Our Chief Operating Officer is Nick Wiley. Some of you may recall that Nick worked with the Fish and Game Commission for over 30 years and retired as the head of Florida Fish and Wildlife. DU's CEO is Adam Putnam. You may remember that Adam lost the governor's race. He's from Bartow, a former congressman, two-time Secretary of Agriculture, and he joined DU when he was 16 years old. Thank you.
I see. So what is DU's goal?
Say again?
What need did DU satisfy? Ducks Unlimited satisfy? You talked about.
We conserve wetlands for waterfowl in the US, Canada, and in Mexico.
And do they move all the way from Canada down to Mexico?
They migrate every winter.
I mean, but they go all the way to Mexico?
Some go further, some go into South America,
Yeah.
but the majority go along the coast. There are 5 flyways. Pacific Flyway would have the most ducks going to the western side, the eastern side, the Pacific.
And you're keeping them alive with hotels along the way?
Absolutely.
That's cool.
They don't always make it back though.
I just want to ask kind of a broad question about
We can go on vacation.
duck hunting, bird hunting in general. What do you see in the US now? What's the attitude of the population? Your surveys regarding hunting.
I don't have the time to answer that well, but generally the hunting population is older, my age and in the 50s. We DU have made a concerted effort to address younger folks. So we have high school and college chapters. A lot of the college members move on to their regular committees like in Jacksonville or Tallahassee or Tampa. And because they've worked on a committee in college and are familiar with the concepts and with fundraising, they make great committee members. So I think we've turned the tide. It's an ongoing battle in terms of our membership's age, but we made a lot of great steps to do that. There are roughly 17,000 members in Florida. I would say probably about 1.9 million by hunting licenses across the country. But hunting is not a popular thing, much less dealing with shotguns, etc. I can get you more information, but that's all I can do off the top of my head.
Just a comment, I was heartened in an article, a year or two ago, I guess in Newsweek magazine, about the tremendous growth in sporting clays shooting in high school.
Yeah.
Dramatic. People really enjoyed it. Younger kids. Now, how that translates
It's
into hunting,
a safe sport,
Yeah.
believe it or not, because it is so well populated and
And competitive.
regulated.
Yeah.
Thanks. I hope that helps.
Your involvement before. It's good to know more today. Thank you. We have some announcements today. The first one is a Paul Harris moment from Harlan Boss. Please welcome Harlan.
Thank you. President Richard, so I don't know if you recall, 2 weeks ago, Bill Trayer spent a minute reading from the book about Paul Harris, our founder. So he knew he was going to be out today, and he asked me if I would keep it going. So before I get started, let me say that if I look like I'm in perpetual volunteer mode, I had a Mohs surgery done yesterday. If you don't know what Mohs is that special treat reserved for those of us that ran around outdoors before sunscreen was invented. Solar cane can only just do so much. So bear with me. Before I get started, I want to see, I purchased a ticket for Deerwood's Rotary's Gala this Friday night. $350, it's all in. And that's their signature event. That's their main fundraiser. Would anyone like to do this? Because I'm not going. If you want it, just see me afterwards. I'd probably ask that there's no charge. I'd maybe just ask that you make a.
Is it one ticket or could two people go?
Very good question.
I'm not interested.
One
but people
ticket
will.
is for you and a significant other. So if you want to go see me, I maybe ask that you make a $50 contribution to our Paul Harris. But otherwise. So, all right, here we go. This is different. This goes back to Mr. Harris's younger years. The most pronounced memories Paul maintained about his youth was the fact that he considered himself a boy well tuned to fun and mischief and to little else. It was this quest for adventure and his constant backsliding and troublemaking that added considerably to the burdens of his parents, grandparents, and the townspeople of Wallingford. While many of his impish acts of disobedience seemed tame by modern standards, there were surely a number of antics perpetrated that posed a hazard to him and others. There are fleeting glimpses and tantalizing indications Paul's activities may have caused serious property damage, although these are difficult to substantiate. Some of the more elaborate misdeeds did have serious ramifications beyond just supplying a few laughs for bored youngsters. Among the early annoyances, many revolved around the local swimming hole located near a wooden covered bridge on Otter Creek. The Rapscallions, that was the group he was part of, took pleasure in skinny dipping. Now, I defined Mohs, I can define skinny dipping for some of you out there too. As people came across the old-fashioned span in their horse-drawn vehicles, the naked boys jumped off the supporting beams into the water. If their timing was right, they were successful in scaring the animals and offending the Victorian passengers' sense of decency.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the upbringing of the founder of Rotary.
Anything that offends Victorian sensibilities is all right with us. I believe we have a review of our oratory competition from Leslie Redd.
Hi, we had a wonderful and quite successful oratory event last week. A young man from Yulee High School won the competition, and a young lady from Bowles was runner-up. All of the students did a wonderful job, and I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for your support as a club those who gave of their time, talent, and treasure. Thank you very much, and a special thank you to the committee. Sorry, it will be airing in May, and I'll have the dates posted in the gear if they're not already.
Thank you, Leslie, for your excellent leadership. Let's see, 50/50 drawing and Lori Whitmer. Lori.
All right, this is for our district grant. We're towards the end of that, should be closing here soon. We have 46 tickets left, and you have to draw the ace of spades. I believe it's well over $400. I have to do a count if we had a winner today for half of that. So get your tickets out. And the first number is 090688.
How many cards are left?
46.
46.
Oh, good enough.
You were close, John.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Let's see. Charlie, had you something today or? You'll pass. Very good. That means you were successful. Very good. Ryan Maloney is introducing visitors and guests. Thank you, Ryan.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have two guests of the same name, actually, two Katie's. So Gary Wilkinson.
I am very pleased to introduce Katie Rudderman. Katie is a brand new partner at Rogers Towers, which is close by. She practices in the area of labor and employment law, and she is an undergrad at the University of Georgia. Obviously, a pleasurable moment for her, and law school at FSU, which obviously
Wilson, Katie, and Go Knowles. Bill Langley, yeah, another Katie.
Another Katie. I'm glad to have our special guest Katie Bowling here today. She is the business manager for the Jacksonville Children's Course. She's a former mechanical engineer that turned business manager for the choir, and welcome. You went to UCF, if I remember.
I graduated from UCF.
UCF, so still in the state of Florida, but welcome Katie to the
And I was very pleased to see you here today.
We here in Rotary welcome you today. So glad you came along, glad you came our way. Our hand of fellowship is yours, sunshine or in rain. We here in Rotary say welcome, come again.
Sometimes when I'm doing other things in my other calling, I say, are there any other announcements? But that's not always a good idea. I guess there are no other announcements. That means that our program introduction will be given by Mark Borello. Mark, welcome and thank you.
Thank you, President Richard. And very pleased that we could have Captain Dan Bean join us today. He wanted me to keep this very short, and I will sort of accede to his request. But I think it's important that you all know, most people, if they're very fortunate, get one act in life where they can contribute good to our community and our nation. Captain Bean is working on his second one. And he had a distinguished 25-year career serving our country in the Navy, highly decorated, and now has gone on in his second act to be a very humble servant leader in our community. He is a partner at Able Bean Law Firm, but more importantly for purposes here today, he is treasurer of the 5-Star Veterans Organization. He is involved with Canines for Warriors. I need to get my, he's the chair of the Canines for Warriors. He's also president of the Jacksonville Historic Naval Ships Association, which I think, as you know, has been instrumental in securing the USS Orlick, which will be coming to Jacksonville here shortly with the ship in the museum. So with that, I now turn it over to Dan Bean.
Thank you all. So I've been making the rounds with all the different Rotary groups. My wife is the president-elect of the St. John's Rotary. I'm always there to pick up trash on 210, so be careful on Saturday mornings. But none of them have the music accompaniment that you all do, so congratulations for that. And on a serious note, though, I thank each of you for what you do for our community. You set the model for others to follow by doing what you do, giving of yourself selflessly, and I'm grateful that you all do that. I am president of the Jacksonville Historic Naval Ship Association. So for the last 12 years, we've been working to bring a retired Navy warship to Jacksonville. Jacksonville, as you may know, is the 3rd largest Navy town in America. There are 44 ships and submarines on display in our country in 35 different cities, none in Florida. And so we think that obviously Jacksonville is ripe for that. It took us a very long time to get to the point where we are now. Some people can call us stupid. Some people can call us dedicated, maybe a little of both. As you may recall, we worked on the USS Charles F. Adams, which was home ported in Mayport for a little while. I was stationed on the USS Charles F. Adams as a midshipman back in 1983 and 84, which was my introduction to Jacksonville. Ultimately, the Navy decided not to donate that warship because too many other ships on display in the country had been going back to the Navy and asking for rescue funds. Congressman Rutherford was really incredibly helpful for us with the Adams. He worked with the Secretary of the Navy and the CNO, but ultimately the Navy made that decision. Unfortunately, they just didn't tell us. And we had to figure it out on our own as they kept moving the goalpost. So we decided to hit social media and make an announcement that we were no longer going to pursue the USS Charles F. Adams. So on that very same day, within about an hour, we received a phone call from the USS Orlick in Lake Charles, Louisiana. And the executive director of the Orlick said to me, you all have a pier without a ship. We have a ship without a pier. We're losing it. And so maybe we have a marriage. And so that started basically a 3-year work together where we funded the Orlick with money and insurance and things of that nature and paid for some of their staff as we were working our way through the city council again and the downtown investment authority again, and the downtown review board again. But ultimately we were successful in securing the funds that we need. And very proud moment for us about a month and a half ago when we took the Orlick off the pier in Lake Charles and moved her to Port Arthur Gulf Copper Shipyard, where she has been resting comfortably in dry dock for the last couple of weeks. And she looks fantastic. We put a ton of steel on her. She is 77 years old. And we have now painted her, primed her, and done all those things. She looks like she's walking off the local car dealership, brand new. She'll move out of dry dock today, later today on Friday. They were supposed to move, but the weather was not conducive to her moving. She'll go pierside in Gulf Copper for final paint jobs and things of that nature. And we'll delay her arrival to hopefully coincide with the removal of the Berkman 2 Plaza. The Orlick has been through a lot, but we don't need any shrapnel from the Berkman 2 when the Berkman 2 comes down. The Orlick has no specific ties to Mayport, Florida, like the Adams did, but the Orlick is the ship that had the most gunfire support in Vietnam. And so for that, she's known as the Great Ghost. She also has lived through 2 hurricanes. Most recently was 2 years ago when Hurricane Laura went right up the Lake Charles River, ripped the Orlick off the pier and moved her a mile up the river. And so she was there. Can you just imagine the people that worked on the Orlick and they came to work one morning and they're like, holy smokes, no ship. and found her a mile up the river, but she was riding high and hadn't taken on any water and wasn't listing in any way. So she's a tough old bird. So we're excited about that. There's some details to continue to work out. Obviously, you don't, when we looked around the city and asked for anyone with experience with moving a warship, there wasn't a whole lot of people with that. But it's been a fun project for us to work through. We're all volunteers. We all have our day jobs, but we all believe that we needed to help downtown as best we could. This is not a grand slam or a home run for downtown, but this is a single. This is an attraction that we think will draw people to downtown. Additionally, we can take Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and spend the nights and do things like that. You can also have a lunch like this on the Orlick once we get her settled. And that's really what we want to do, and have an attraction for people, another reason for people to come downtown. So that's the purpose of that. The pier next to the Berkman requires a little bit of work, which DI has to approve us to start. It'll be about 4 weeks. So in the event that our timing is off, we've received permission to put the Orlick in front of the Hyatt. She won't be open for tours for about a month to 2 months, because we're very cognizant of the fact that your first impression is your most important impression, and we don't want to bring people on and have them have a bad experience, and then they go on social media just like we do, and we go from there. But it's been a long time in coming. I won't celebrate until I physically see her on the St. Johns River, because this is the farthest we've come with a warship. But we think it's time that Jacksonville have something right there in the middle of the harbor. Any questions on the Orlick before I go on to a couple of other veteran service organizations? I'm going to go with the judge first. So,
Dan, I was just wondering, a number of years ago, my wife and I went on board, I think it was a destroyer, but I'm not sure if it's in Charleston Harbor, right next to the carrier. And I remember somewhere there, they had set up a small theater and showed a film of the history of that ship and the battles that have been. It's just incredible. I was just wondering if you were thinking about something like that.
Yeah, the experience on board will be unique to the Orlick. We'll focus on the Vietnam era, given her history with Vietnam. She was a World War II ship. She was one of the last ones commissioned and toward the end of World War II. But every other ship on display is World War II or older. And so we felt the Adams was really ideal for us, because the Adams would have been the youngest warship on display in the country. So we had to, we'll accentuate the Orlick's history of Vietnam. We actually had a donor come forward who has $1 million to spend on a museum like the Orlick. The money won't go all to the Orlick, but it'll go to develop a museum outside the Orlick to celebrate the individual history of Jacksonville citizens that have participated in the armed forces. So in this gentleman is particularly is a World War II veteran that will be celebrated, but we'll build around that, similar to what that ship in Charleston has done. Charleston has two. They have the carrier, as you mentioned. They have a destroyer like us. And they've started to do more advertising in Jacksonville, by the way, for some strange reason. But yes, that's the design, and that's the trust fund money that they came forward with. People, as we made our announcements, and now that we own a warship, people have started to come forward, which is what we knew would happen. And then physically, when she's here and you're going over the Main Street Bridge and you see her, more people will continue to come forward with different ideas. One of the things we're working with the Downtown Investment Authority is the museum, the Firehouse Museum, is being moved. Okay, so it's going to be moved from Metro Park to the space right in front of us. And Lori Boyer, the chair of Downtown Investment Authority, wants to sort of do a Heroes Park, which is a concept that's a great, it's a nice concept. We're advocating a Veterans Park, but fine, we'll share with heroes, first responders, things like that. Anything to attract people downtown is what we're after, right? And so that area right there across from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is a very wide open space that is used for JSO parking and Jaguar parking. We hope to occupy it with other things that are more appropriate. Ultimately, we are openly advocating for the movement of the Veterans Wall from a parking lot in an NFL stadium to a more appropriate, serene setting on the water, and open up that area for further development that is more appropriate for an NFL setting. But again, we're going to concentrate on just get the ship here, and we'll have plenty to do to get it ready to open and then move on from there. Ultimately, whether she moves to the east into Hogan's Creek area remains to be seen. But it looks like it'll take 4 or 5 years for that to occur. But the Jaguars and Iguana Investments have certain ideas that we like a lot to make that area even more attractive. That would have us move a little bit to the east. Good thing is we float, and so we can move. Was there? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm sure this has already been worked out, but I just wanted some confirmation that with 2 large ships potentially downtown at the same time with the Orlick and Kismet, that isn't going to be a problem then. There's plenty of berthing space.
No. The Kismet will be down by CSX. I think he prefers to nestle up closer there. It's a little safer for him. It can be controlled. There's not as many homeless people. I mean, security is going to be an issue for us, right? And so we have certain designs that we've seen the other warships on display in the country. But that's something, we have to deal with. He doesn't have to deal with that because of where he's at. And he's not here the full time. But
Yeah, I noticed.
Really?
Yeah.
No one noticed that.
Yeah, but my understanding is that he likes the fact that there's a ship bigger than his, so it's less attention for him. And they've been great. I mean, they've been very helpful. We went to them about 8 years ago, frankly, and we said, here's what we want to do downtown. We realized that you will probably have the biggest say. And if you could make us go away in a heartbeat. And so here's all of our plans. Here, what do you think? And they took 6 weeks and brought us into his office, and they were like, we like it. And then we said, would you pay for it? He said, no. But the most important thing was that they wouldn't interfere with it.
That's great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dan, I assume that the boat has no propulsion, so.
First of all, we don't call it a boat. Okay, so boats are carried by ships. So
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, the ship has no propulsion.
Correct.
So I guess, assume it'll be towed over here?
Yes, yeah, it was towed from Lake Charles to Port Arthur, and she'll be towed again from Port Arthur to Jacksonville. It's a 10 to 11 day trip depending on the weather.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very costly, it's the cheapest bid we had for that was $250,000, and it was more expensive from and we took some damage when we went from Lake Charles to Port Arthur, so we didn't pay the full amount to the tow company, and we're going to go with them again, but man, my fingers are crossed because there's no shipyard in between Port Arthur and Jacksonville, right? No, they ripped a hole in the bow, a tiny hole at the top where the tow line was. So, I mean, she looks so good right now, but you have fate that comes into play there. And I suppose we could pull into North Florida Shipyard or something like that if we had to, but we hope that they've learned their lesson and will execute this tow a little bit more safer, right? So, yes, Robert.
Staff wise, who's gonna staff it?
So so the staff will have probably 2 full-time employees, ship director, and then an executive director. We already have our executive director. I'm not gonna tell you his name right now, and then we'll have volunteers and things like that. The AARP has agreed to provide a healthy donation, a 5-year commitment, provided we use their members as volunteers, which works really well for us. So it's a very much a heavy volunteer run organization. So typically open 10 to 4 during the week, maybe close Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, full operation. If you have an overnight, then we'll have to staff it up, but there'll be a lot of volunteers. So my wife, I'll be down at the warship. But we'll see. That's what they were running. At Lake Charles, they had 1 person, and she got a little deteriorated. Here, Lake Charles is not a veteran community. Here, 1 in every 4 has some type of military connection, right? So, and we can always use chief petty officers and things of that nature. And so, this is very much, we're flying by the seat of our pants to a large degree. We own a warship now that's worth about $600,000 in steel salvage, which we didn't own 3 weeks ago. So, but one thing we have done is studied the other 44 ships, and like the USS North Carolina and Wilmington, and the ship in San Diego. And I lived in San Diego before they got that carrier. And believe me, that was a 2-way street. If you've been to San Diego and you've been on that ship, there was a 2-way street when I was there, and there was drug infested prostitutes and all kinds of stuff there. It is now a 5-lane street with all kinds of shops and stuff like that. Same thing in Baltimore. I lived in DC. My dad would take me to the Oriole games. We would not go downtown if we could help ourselves because of the deteriorated. Now, when they brought in their ships, they built around it. And so, we have a jail across from our ship, so we'll be a little safer. Yes. Yes, sir.
I've read that they're having to shut down the river for like 6 hours to bring it up the river. Is that?
I have not heard that. Yeah, I've not heard that. I don't think that's true. I mean, that'll just be, I've not heard that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good, I have not heard that at all. So.
Did you mean the ship or the volunteer had deteriorated?
Yeah, no, the
Sure.
ship had deteriorated just because of the lack of volunteers and lack of work. It means it's a full-time job, keeping it up, and they also knew that they were losing it. So I think that also had a weigh in on some of their attitude, stuff like that. Any other thoughts or any questions? Yes, sir. Hey, Eric.
Can you reiterate or if you did say it's state, how many of these ships were actually in service and maybe some physical parameters, the ship length?
Yeah, sure. There's about 44 ships on display, submarines. I'm gonna put those in, that's a boat, by the way. The 44 different ships or submarines on display in the country in about 35 different cities. The Orlik is a 390-foot long warship. She'll be average size of all the destroyers that are on display in the country. It's about 45 feet wide, very tight quarters in that way. The nice thing about this type of ship is that she's got a helo deck. And so they used to, back then, they would put a precursor of a drone on it. And we've been able to refurbish the drone. It's called a dash. And the problem was back then is that it would fly off and they wouldn't be able to always retrieve it. They almost always lost it. And so now, unfortunately, we have ours. And so we've had a local company refurbish it and put it together, and it'll be on the flight deck as well. But we will be able to put a tent up on the flight deck, and we will be able to have functions outside. Unlike the Adams, because the Adams was the lead destroyer, lead warship in the Cuban Missile Crisis, and they just stuck every single weapon system you could know at that time on the Adams. There was no space for a helicopter. She didn't carry a helicopter. The Orlik doesn't carry a helicopter, but could land one if necessary. But yes, the ship will not be able to get underway. The ship it'll have to be towed.
How many ships like the Orlik were made in its service?
Oh, a ton. This was World War II. I mean, they were punching them out, I don't know how frequently, but there were a ton of Orliks, a ton of that Gearing class destroyer. So, I mean, frankly, one of the problems with the other cities with the cities is that they hold on to their ship too long. And so I get in trouble with my group when I talk about replacing the Orlik, all right, in about the 5 to 10 period of time. And the Orlik was obviously a United States ship. It went to the United States, gave it to Turkey. Turkey then sold it to a nonprofit in Texas. And so given my love affair with the Navy and the donation program, I will go to a foreign country and start asking to purchase one of them that the United States Navy has donated to the foreign country, and ultimately replace the Orlik in 6 to 10 years. It'll take that long to negotiate and to figure it out. But the goal will be to bring a younger ship, right? That is going to be easier to upkeep, but also more attractive for the generation of people that are traveling around. I mean, the World War II generation is just not viable anymore. And we also need to distinguish ourselves by having the youngest ship on display in the country. But again, that's 6 to 10. We have to walk, crawl before we walk, and then walk before we run. And so that is the long-term goal. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about the namesake of the Orlik?
Not a lot. I mean, Admiral Orlik, I don't really know too much about him, to be candid with you. Because all the ships, I was on the Fanning and the Bogey, both are admirals. And, Bogey was a World War II submariner who died in an attack during World War II. I don't know what what Admiral Orlik's fate was. What?
Guess we'll have to go there.
Yeah, well, frankly, we're going to be focused on Vietnam, because Vietnam none of the other ships on display are focused on Vietnam. And the Vietnam veterans have never received the type of attention that they deserve. And so that's the focus. But I'm sorry that I don't have that.
Yep.
So where does a vessel like this go in your grand plan of 6 to 10 years?
Mhm.
Maybe you haul it out once.
Razor
for
blades.
repairs.
Yeah, she goes to razor blades and we
Yeah.
take that, whatever the value of steel is at that time and put it toward the next ship. Yeah, I mean, right now, the price of steel today, it's worth about 650,000, which is a nice piece of collateral for the financial institution that's giving us a line of credit. Yeah, but that's, so the Navy sold the aircraft carrier out in Seattle for $1 to the ship repair facility that will salvage it. At that time, the Adams, when we talked about, we've, in our agreement with the city, we have to set aside about $400,000 in a fund to tow the ship out in the event that we're not successful. I asked them if they did that with the Berkman too, and they said that's not the point. But so that'll be the cost we have to put that money in so that we have that opportunity. If it doesn't prove to be self-sustaining, I have every confidence it'll be self-sustaining, but it's prudent, corporate citizenship to have that. But that's the value of the warship, is the salvage value. They make razor blades out of it, and it'll vacillate with the price of steel. Yes, sir.
What do you expect to charge for admission?
$15 for admission, right? And we're not going to get any veteran discounts. No, that was a joke, sorry. No, AARP will have a discount. No, they'll be veteran, but $15 is our price bet. And then I think we were looking at $50 for an overnight stay for the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, so that you don't have to travel to Mobile, Alabama or Charleston. You can stay with us. Ultimately, what we'd like to do, frankly, is a bed and breakfast type of atmosphere with one of the staterooms, and have that. We haven't figured out all the details for that, but that's, as far as restrooms, the ship will have a head, is what we call it on the warship, but it won't be really fit for human consumption. Ideally, you can use it in an emergency, but the idea is to take the type of the restrooms that you see at the TPC, and that's what we'll have available for our guests. And then ultimately, if the whole plan comes together, we have that museum center, which brick and mortar, right? And that would have your restrooms and things of that nature.
Souvenirs. all
Yeah.
that.
Right. The city doesn't want us to do brick and mortar yet, understandably, until they figure out exactly what the grand plan is. Of course, we've been trying to figure out the grand plan for about 3 decades. So I was thinking we would have it done before I die, but I'm not so sure anymore. But one goal is just to have the ship here and we'll go from there. Yes, sir.
You brought this up twice, and I would like to make sure that nobody makes this faux pas again. You made the distinction between a boat and a ship,
Right.
and you said you can put a boat on a ship.
Well, the ship carries a boat.
A ship carries a boat. How do you carry a submarine
Right.
on a ship?
I don't know. Those guys are so weird down there that I have so much respect for those. I got to, as a midshipman, I got to spend a week on the USS La Jolla, and it's just amazing what those folks do. We would do drills. So no, we wouldn't carry a submarine per se, a ballistic missile submarine. But one, I will just tell you, we would do drills with them, anywhere in the world, and they would have to tell us where they were, latitude and longitude, and the time. And literally 10 seconds before that time would come, they still wouldn't know they were there. Still would not know. And then they would shoot their little red flare in the air and say, "Oh, we just killed you." And then we're like, "Thanks, guys." But I had no idea they were there. And one time we were going through the Persian Gulf, the Omani Navy would always come out to greet us, whatever. And we had a submarine with us, and the submarine kept going underneath us, just playing with the Omanis. Never knew she was there, and she would go up and come over, come underneath us, and they didn't. Then the Omanis didn't know she was there. And this is the submarine force is truly an amazing force. I was never academically qualified for that. So, but anyway, real quick, I know it's 1:15. I wanted to talk to you just briefly about Canines for Warriors. I'm the chair of Canines for Warriors. We rescue the service dog and we rescue the veteran. We've paired over 710 people at this point. This started in a garage on Roscoe Boulevard. We now have a magnificent campus in Ponte Vedra. We're putting the finishing touches on the mega kennel on Phillips Highway, which will be the largest mega kennel in the United States. We are also the largest domestic provider of service animals to veterans. We've had 1 suicide out of the 710. And there's no question that almost 90% of the veterans that come to us have suicidal ideations or have attempted suicide. It's really a fantastic program. We've expanded to Texas and San Antonio.
We have a facility that's going to come on board in Arizona. My goal is to have a facility in every single state to broaden our mission to law enforcement officers. The number one killer of law enforcement officers is suicide. What we've started to do is stick dogs that are not fit for the veteran in the police headquarters. And I think we've done it in 10 different cities in Florida. We'll expand that program. That program has been incredibly successful to help law enforcement officers and first responders. We haven't done it with the fire department yet, but we'll do that. And then sexual assault victims. And so Rethreaded, if you're familiar with it, I've been told that every victim in the Rethreaded program has post-traumatic stress disorder. And unfortunately, as a veteran of the Navy, the female veterans that we put through Canine Warriors, 90% are sexual assault victims from their armed forces state, which is just completely unacceptable. I was on warships with no female, so I just was immune to it, I guess. And it was shocking to me to see it. But when once a month, we go in and serve a meal on a Sunday afternoon. So we get to communicate with them, and both the male and the females. And they are all in different states, some of recovery with the post-traumatic stress disorder. There's one or two that cannot come out of their room still because they've only been with the dog for a week. But there are others that are beginning to be redomesticated as human beings because of the dog, and it's helping them. But ultimately, what I would like us to be able to do is have a full service veterans, first responders, and sexual assault victims have it in every single state. That would be my goal. It's a wonderful program. It's an amazing impact. If you're looking for a dog, let me tell you, there's a lot of dogs that don't make it through our program. We've really increased our standards to help the veterans. So that means we have dogs routinely available on the website. I have a 5-year-old that was a return because his veteran got a job because he got recovered and got redomesticated. He's working as in a private company with bomb sniffing dogs. And so my Stevie she's number one. She loves her attention. And so she didn't do well with a friend in the room with her. So he couldn't hold on to Stevie, brought her back to canines. And so we offer, if you check out our website or check out our Facebook, if you're in the market for a dog who's really well trained, and Stevie's done a really good job of training me, they're free, okay, and they're very well trained. Yes, Judge?
So I had spoken to Patty a while ago about the graduation ceremonies, and
Yeah.
this was obviously pre-COVID, and
Yeah.
I know there were some differences. Are you still doing those on a
Yeah.
monthly basis?
Yeah, Thursdays at 5 o'clock.
Is
Yeah.
it every Thursday or is it once a month?
Not every Thursday. It's every class is 21 days, so that
Okay.
it coincides. But it's on the website and on Facebook, and you can see it. And we
Is
can
that
publish it.
open for
Yes.
people to come?
Yeah. It's a tremendous event, obviously. The best day is the first Monday. The veteran gets there the warrior gets there on Sunday. And Monday is they're paired with their dog. And now the waiting list has been almost 4 years now, that's why we're doing the mega kennels. And the other problem we have is the trainers. And so we train our own trainers now, graduated our first class at San Antonio. The goal is to get it down to 2 years. And during that 2-year period or 4-year period, we get to know the warrior and we know the dog, and they do it's a lot of hard work to put the two together. And a lot of times, not a lot, but a couple of times, 1 or 2 in every class, we have to move the dog, move someone else in, change the dog for the warrior. And then the after program is tremendous, right? I mean, we take care of the dog. The dog is actually the property of Canines for Warriors. I had a female mentee that unfortunately committed a crime after she received her dog, and she went off, she's gone back to prison. We had to take the dog back. It happens sometimes, but the aftercare program is tremendous. She had a problem with the dog, flaking or eating or whatever. We have veterinarians around the country. We know where to go. We pay for it. You have to recertify every year. I mean, it's a serious little program that they have there. And then there's an alumni group that communicates with each other. And if you see somebody acting a little bit funny on Facebook, then we reach out and make sure they're okay. And I attribute all that to just one suicide out of 710. So, yes, sir.
Would you mind commenting on Sherry Duvall?
Yeah.
Sherry was a neighbor of mine when I
Yeah.
lived down in Palm Valley.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, they just don't come any better than her.
No, well, we wouldn't have the Canines Warriors without Sherry. Sherry was the founder. Sherry's son, Brett, came back from Afghanistan and Iraq. He was with he was a civilian bomb sniffing dog company. And Brett came back, and Brett had post-traumatic stress disorder and withdrawn, depression, suicidal, all those things. And Sherry started the Canines for Warriors out of her garage. And then one thing you didn't do is say no to Sherry. So Sherry started in 2011, I think. And she came to me and she said, I need your help. And I said, yeah, I'll think about it. She goes, no, you're not going to think about it. I need your help. And so that's how I started my association with Canines for Warriors. And she has saved unbelievable amount of lives. She passed away through cancer, I guess early last year. I'm sorry. And time runs together. And it was amazing. We had 30 warriors come back with their dogs on the stage. Obviously not all 700, but Sherry, Canines wouldn't be there without Sherry, right? And so the power of one person. So thank you for reminding me to remind others about Sherry. She's absolutely amazing. And it's kind of neat to see when you would go to the garage on Roscoe and Palm Valley, and now you go to this huge campus with multiple buildings, and go to San Antonio and see what goes on there. When we add the buildings on in Arizona, that's all Sherry Duvall. Yeah. Yes.
Is there a tie-in between Canines for Warriors and not
ship?
the boat, but the ship?
No.
I mean, are you gonna
no,
try to
we-
pull
we-
those two things
No,
together
we-
that they're?
Yeah, no, we do. I'm sorry to cut you off. We do a road race together only because we're in our 12th year of our 5K. And frankly, I pulled Canines in the event that we stopped pursuing a warship. And so I would just hand the race over to them. It's a Veterans Day race. It's the kickoff event for the city. And then we have a 1 mile fun one with the paws, with the puppies.
Right.
And everybody loves that. So, but no, there's no official tie-in. So one thing that Canines does is Firewatch, which is an organization committed to ending veteran suicide. Firewatch.org, if you look that up, pairing people like yourselves with veterans so that the veteran has somebody that can turn to in the event that they start to struggle, or they have life experiences that you all have and you've worked through in your life. And it's just like basically having a younger child, a son or a daughter, to help them through life challenges, and just for them to know that there's somebody there. I have about 7 veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder that I work with. And some I talk to every day, like Chris Dempsey, who's now passed the Florida bar and doing immigration stuff. And he was a DOJ lawyer, went to Afghanistan, came back with post-traumatic stress disorder, starts to self-medicate, ends up out of DC with his wife and 3 kids in a church in Keystone Heights trying to kill himself. And he came all the way back. I corrected him twice, march corrected him once. But last year he passed the Florida bar, and he comes to work every day. He's an amazing lawyer. And we got him back to where he was. And it was because of a program like Firewatch that pairs people. And then the last program I went, 5-Star Veteran Center is the homeless center. It's got 32 patients, 32 customers, 32 guests, I should say. It's off of Atlantic Boulevard. But if you see a veteran that is homeless, that's a great place for them to go. And Claire White does the same thing. And the Soulsparker Center also has their own wing of veterans. One thing we don't do enough of is female veterans. And so they're working to remedy that. And the last thing is, real briefly, is United Way has started a Mission United program. The copycats of the program that was started in Broward. Iraqi veteran comes home. Her dad is a Vietnam veteran. She's not getting the services that she needs. So he starts this program, sort of like what Sherry Duvall does, through United Way. And it's a wraparound service for everything you can need: mental health, shelter, transportation, VA disability benefits, and things like that. We finally have it here through the vision of Michelle Braun. So it's called Mission United. If you have someone in need, frankly, they don't have to just be a veteran, but if they dial 211, that has been a program that's been up for about 2 years. We've helped over 8,000 people. And I think right now we're delivering over 7,000 meals a week through the Mission United program. So you all have been very kind. I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Yes, before you go, allow us to express our appreciation for the dual topics that you brought to us today, and for being incredibly well informed. We will be making a donation in your name to the Rotary Foundation for the eradication of polio, and there is a certificate to
Thank
prove
you.
it.
Thank you very much. I
Yes.
appreciate it. Thank you all. for listening.
Next week, our speaker will be Matt Welch, TPC Chair. As we end our meeting today, please remember our membership motto, each one bring one, and say with me as we close. Service above self, one province most, who serves best.